With this being an election year, please, let's not make the comment section into a political debate. There is more than enough of that going around at this point. Just begging you, can we not do that this time? Please, God! Reagan was directed by Sean McNamara and stars Dennis Quaid as former President of the United States for 2 terms, Ronald Reagan, in a biopic that sprawls from the beginning of his life to the end of his presidential career. In this film, we follow Ronald Reagan, an aspiring young man who goes from a small, simple life, and including just a small job as a lifeguard, to an actor in Hollywood, through the Red Scare, into governorship, and eventually to the White House, and all the trials, tribulations, and victories that came along the way. Whenever you're making a movie like this, I think the biggest difficulty, the biggest obstacle or hurdle for any filmmaker is trying to not have a stance or opinion or agenda or belief that becomes too prevalent in the film. This is something we always see in films. I'm not naming anyone. I'm not picking a side. I'm just saying it's something that films struggle with, because I feel like you're making something that's historical. You should stay as unbiased, unfiltered, and as much from an objective lens as possible. Reagan definitely has a side. It definitely picks a side of which it wants to have you perceive Reagan and how it wants to portray him. And because of that, I think the movie falters from having a completely realistic portrayal of the character and events. And certain things are definitely changed. And this movie is by no means historically accurate. Starting from his early life on, this movie has a lot of stuff that pretty much is not confirmed. It's just things that were added for dramatic effect, but that's to be expected. I don't expect all historical movies to be great. But the movie also wastes a lot of time because Reagan became president so late in his career that when you tell a movie about his entire life, you are bound to have a lot of territory to cover in a very short amount of time. A major issue for this movie is a husk of a film. It is a shell of a movie. It is as shallow as a puddle. There is nothing in here. There is no substance. It's kind of bullet point, PowerPoint Ronald Reagan's life, but from just the way it's viewed of the filmmakers. And you never get a feeling of really knowing the guy. You just kind of are watching someone and you're told we should care, but there's nothing more to it than that. The whole movie is miserably miscast as well, particularly Dennis Quaid as Ronald Reagan. He feels more as a caricature of Ronald Reagan than anything else. It's just kind of him sitting around, just kind of smiling and talking in a raspy voice, making this face at the camera and saying really American things like, "May God bless America and have mercy on our enemies, because he knows I will not." It's not a real thing, and you never believe it's Ronald Reagan. There's scenes where they cut to actual footage, which is any severance you had of believing that was Ronald Reagan evaporates quicker than water on a boiling stove. It is really bad. And then in the process of them trying to create certain things, you look at something, they're like trying to portray the Red Scare and stuff, which, by the way, was when I discovered communism is fun. But nothing's really conveyed clearly. And the way they have other people react to Reagan in order to try to make us feel a certain way. They don't let you reach your own conclusions on your own. People are supposed to reach that. And another problem is this movie struggles from being both overly prepped and under-rehearsed at the exact same time. Like, it seems like everybody spent so much time trying to be like the people, they did a really bad imitation of him and of everyone else in the story, but at the same time, no one rehearsed enough, so everything comes across as movie lines and as performances. You're acutely aware, due to the production quality and the way the film is created, edited, paced, that you are watching a movie. You don't feel like you've ever been taken into the world of Ronald Reagan or gotten to understand all that's behind him or what drove him or anything like that, or really understand the politics of anything. You just feel like you're watching things happen. And that's it. Any and all attempts by the film to also really delve deep fall kind of short. A lot of events aren't touched on properly or just glazed over in such a way that you don't get anything out of the film. The one thing I will give the film is I feel like it did a decent enough job of capturing the era, and it kind of does give you a good idea of the vibe, but other than that, I was very unimpressed by this film. I did not enjoy myself. I never once believed I was watching Ronald Reagan as president. It's just a missed opportunity and a swing and a miss, which is the saddest crime any film can commit. I don't recommend seeing this film in any context, even after it's out of theaters and on streaming. It's just not worth your time. I'm going to give Reagan a 1 out of 10. So thank you guys always so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you all next time.